Hello everyone, my name's Muir, and this is Starsector version 0.96a-RC10, and this is the cruiser level combined arms sort of squad that you can use. We have here is the combined arms champion, combined arms heron, combined arms monitor this time instead of the vanguard. But if you don't have monitors yet, then just keep using vanguards, and the combined arms afflictor instead of the gremlin. Now, if you want to, you can also use a shade as a sort of in-between to go from gremlin to afflictor. That's perfectly fine. And what we see here is that by the time you're at cruiser level, you should probably have some halfway decent officers at this point. So we have our capital ship, or not capital ship, but we have our warship officer here, and we have our carrier officer here. These guys, for frigate level, destroyer level, cruiser level, and then what I call cruiser plus, all use the exact same officers at every single tier. The capital level, which is sort of an alternative to cruiser plus, that uses its own type of warship officer that's more specialized, because the capital level warship doesn't use missile slots, really. So it doesn't use any kind of missiles that have ammunition. So you would need slightly different officers for that. You'll be able to see those when you look at when the capital level ships come out, because I believe I go over the officers that you need for that. But we're using about 58 deployment points here. So let's go ahead and throw about 58 deployment points at them. Now let's throw some sort of carrier out there. Let's see, this one's a bomber, right? That might be problematic for them. I like it. I think the broadswords would be a bit more problematic. Okay, so we'll use broadswords, and then we need to get up to 8, so let's just go ahead and get 2 lashers on to do it. But alright, we have 58 against 58. Let's see how well everything does. So, let's go. Alright, so immediately one of the lashers just dies to the Heron's hangar units and the afflictor. It looks like this other lashers coming over here. It's going to get blocked by the monitor pretty much permanently. And as you can see, the champion here is doing quite a bit of damage to this onslaught. The onslaught's sort of just blowing its load early, and well, you know, premature using of all of its ammunition there isn't a good look for the onslaughts, as the champion can fire all of its guns at once and still burn off some flux. But now that it's out of range of the onslaught, it's able to start slowly getting rid of some of that flux that has been built up on it. It'd be really nice if this afflictor would just go kill that lasher, but we're not intervening right now, just to let this play out the way it will. Eventually I assume that the Heron will just send its fleet over there to kill that lasher. But if not, then not. It's okay. Alright, but that high intensity laser is currently carving through the onslaught. Uh-oh. Is this lasher about to get high intensity lasered to death? Maybe. The afflictor is keeping the onslaught rather busy. That devastator cannon looks pretty scary when you are a phase ship, though. Looks like some fighters from the carrier came in, from the Condor, I think it is. And this onslaught is very slowly taking more and more damage. Would be nice if the afflictor would stay alive, but you know, if he decides to die, then that is his choice. And you know, little bits of damage to this Lasher, but not a whole lot. He's not really a threat. Alright, we had a little bit of EMP come on in, and this Onslaught might have its engines get EMP'd. And if it does, then it's kind of just dead in the water. Now the thing is, again, the champion here is able to fire all of its lasers at the same time, and, well, he's able to fire them all at the same time forever. So this Onslaught is now going to keep his shields up until he overloads, and then he'll die. Looks like the fighters from the Condor are now down. And it looks like the Afflictor might be going after that Lash. There he goes. And so this battle is entirely over at this point. The Afflictor will probably get destroyed by the Lasher, but there isn't a whole lot that is good. This fight is one-sided right now. So, we know how it's going to end. Let's go and see what else we get. So, again, we throw these two out there. We're up to 58 points. Give them their orders. And now let's ask the age-old question. What happens if lots of stuff shows up? Because that is really the age-old question of fighting pirates. Though by this point, if you have these ships, you probably aren't stuck just fighting pirates. You are very likely able to start taking on bigger and better things. We can probably go a little bit over. Why not? Should be fine. Alright, so we have massed enemy warships here. And what we're going to see is the champion here is going to kind of just start slaughtering them. Very quickly. Like, just from the lasers alone, he's almost overloaded. And with its Heron, you can switch those little missiles that it has over to pylons just fine, without much problem. And that could have been a dead wolf, but it wasn't. It'll die the moment anything coughs on it. Alright, that's a dead wolf. A fighter showed up, and the pilot opened up his cockpit and threw a spoon at it, and it exploded. So, alright, someone is overloaded. And this Cerberus doesn't have any kind of shielding, so the moment those high-intensity lasers get on it, he will probably start melting. This Buffalo really doesn't have any shielding whatsoever, so as you can see, he's just starting to, well, start slaughtering people. Now, generally, you would have multiples of these guys, maybe 4 or 5 squads out at any given time, so they would be able to just kill a lot more enemy ships all at once. Where is the Afflictor? I'm assuming the... oh, there he is. He either died or he's just off somewhere doing his thing. But he's causing some chaos over here, redirecting these 5 ships to come after one Afflictor that they will never catch unless the Afflictor chooses to be caught. Which means now their forces are effectively divided and conquered. And that wolf going toe-to-toe with that champion is not a good strategy. Not by a long shot. Yeah, we have this brawler trying to brawl with the champion. Again, not a good idea. And generally in this, they will play fairly defensively with each of their groups, so long as they are outnumbered. When they start getting less outnumbered, that's when they tend to go more aggressive. But you know, this wolf is probably dead. No, he seems to be okay. The wolves do tend to have fairly high shields, and it looks like the Afflictor is dead. So they're going to come back over here and pick some fights, which is great. And this Cerberus, he is down. Brawler seems as though he is going to do fairly well. And what we're going to see is these guys are kind of just going to not be able to kill anyone until they start to CR out. Until they start combat readinessing out. Just attritioning out, I suppose. And then they will die. And that will be that. But yeah, I don't think they've been able to do any damage, really, to our major ships here. Is this a champion that has an officer in it? I don't know if that one has an officer. No, it does. We're good. So, they have them pressed against the bottom of the map a little bit, but whenever they try to get close, they always just get forced back. So it isn't really that big of a deal. These wolves are doing a fairly decent job, but these fighters are going to start coming in and either stopping these guys from being able to move through EMP or doing just a little bit of damage to start killing them off. There goes that wolf, and very slowly they're just going to pick everything else off. Alright, there's that one wolf, sort of overwhelmed at the moment. With this brawler over there just sort of hanging out, doing his thing. And that's a dead mud skipper. But yeah, this fight is just going to proceed until they are all dead, and they aren't going to be able to do anything. They won't be able to kill the Monitor or the Heron or the Champion at this point. It's kind of just a foregone conclusion at this point. If they were going to have any success, they would have done it earlier. Now it's kind of just the slow progression unto death. But let's see one last hurrah for these guys. So how well do they do against capital ships? These guys are about 58 points, so we'll throw them up against about 60-ish and see how well they do against a capital. A capital and a cruiser. So the Afflictor is going off to do his thing. You have some of the fighters coming in. The Champion has a lot more shields than the Sunder did. So he's going to be a fairly consistent problem for these guys. What we can see here is already... Did we already do one of these? I want to say we already showed something like this off. That might have been in a different video. We've done a lot of these back to back. But yeah, what we're going to see is the Champion is going to very slowly... well, for one, they're going to keep the onslaught near maximum flux, and so he's not going to want to keep his shields up as much. That EMP, that high intensity laser, that's all coming in and just doing absolute huge amounts of damage to that onslaught. He really just does not have an answer. So in order to move towards the conquest, towards the Champion, he has to drop his shields, and that might just be good game for that onslaught. This Eagle isn't going to be able to do much else. All he can really do at this point is run for his life, but that's not really going to be very long. But alright, that is that. So, if I remember correctly, even at this normal cruiser level, you are potentially able to beat most, if not all, of the hardest fights in the game. With Cruiser Plus, you can definitely do it, and with Capital, you can definitely do it as well. Capital kind of just feels unfair all things considered. But it is what it is. Now, an important aspect of this is that you will at any given time have 5 champions, or I should say 5 warships, 5 carriers, and then you will have a mix of monitors and afflictors. So you'll have about 5 afflictors, and the rest will be civilian ships, so cargo ships, fuel ships, cruise ships, and beyond that, monitors. Mainly, so if you need to, you can just flood the battlefield with monitors to keep problematic enemies really, really busy. But alright, that is the fleet in action. Does a really good job at what it's really good at what it does. For the actual ships themselves, just check out the individual ship builds. They're in the playlist that this video is in. You can find those. And yeah, everything should be great. I will see you guys later. Bye, everyone.